Chelsa, I know you have to be excited because over the past 2 days, we've broken down the National League and American League East. And if you missed those breakdowns, you can check out the podcast. Today, we're going to focus on the NL Central since they're 8 days until we get opening day baseball. Famous number eights. We were talking about this earlier. Joe Morgan, Carl Yastrzemski, Cal Ripken, Gary Carter. Well, let's go into how this division will play out. Division odds at BetMGM, you have the Brewers at -150, Cardinals at 2-1, Cubs 11-1, Reds 13-1, the Pirates way back at 50-1. And if you're looking at World Series odds, the Brewers are tied for ninth best odds, 16-1, Cardinals at 20-1, Cubs and Reds 100-1, Pirates even further back at 250-1. Who do you like in this division, and would you put any money at all on a World Series future?
First of all, these odds have shifted. I think when we talked about this for the first time, the Brewers were, -130 to win the division. Now they're -175 as we see some money coming in on the Brewers, I am assuming. And I like that because I have full faith in their pitching staff to carry them to a division title here. I think they're far and away the best pitching rotation in this division, and MLB.com has them as the second best rotation in all of baseball, anchored by Corbin Burns, led the league in ERA last season, also a strikeout machine. And then you've got Freddie Peralta, who didn't go necessarily deep in games, but also has excellent top-end strikeout stuff. And you could say the same thing for Brandon Woodruff. So those three guys, the anchors of the rotation, and also one of the best bullpens with setup guy Devin Williams, has that airbender, some of the nastiest stuff you'll see coming out of the bullpen. You remember he punched a wall last year, and that's why he wasn't available in the postseason.
Yeah.
Josh Hader converting on 34 of 35 saves last season. One of the best weapons to come in as a closer. And I think for the Cardinals, last year we saw him get really hot down the stretch. I'm not sure if that's repeatable because if you remember those games, a lot of those games they were winning as underdogs because they were getting great starting pitching performances from guys like Jay Happ and John Lester. Old guys who don't have that great of numbers. Obviously, John Lester is career a great pitcher, but he was at his last leg. He is retired now. He is not going to be playing for the Cardinals. So I think some of those were a little bit, unrepeatable. So I think I am down on the Cardinals for that reason. I think looking at the Reds win total, you probably take an under there because they have committed to not keeping their best players. So I think all hope is lost probably in Cincinnati. I do like the Brewers.
Yeah, I like for some of the reasons you mentioned, which is from top to bottom, whether it's their rotation or their bullpen, they are just about as good as it gets. And I think their lineup will be better. I think there's a possibility that Christian Yelich could sort of bounce back a little bit. I like McCutchen and Renfroe. They just need to stay healthy. When they're healthy, they're productive players, and they need a little pop in their lineup. That ultimately will be their downfall, I think, if you're looking at a future, which I wouldn't do because I'm on the Blue Jays to win it all. And I just think ultimately the Brewers will come up short in the bats department. They're not going to be able to produce runs that they need if we're talking about big picture. But when it comes to the division, they're clearly the class. And I was going to ask you about the Cardinals. I took a hard look at St. Louis because they got so hot at the end of last season. And there's reasons to like them. But ultimately, I'm worried about their rotation. You got Jack Flaherty, who's out right now with a shoulder injury. Adam Wainwright was great last year, but he's 40. He's due for some regression. Alex Reyes, he's their primary closer, but he's going to miss the first 2 months of the season. So when you look at the injury situation and age and the fact that the Cardinals got super hot, I don't know if they can necessarily replicate that. So I would actually put minus money on Milwaukee.
Yeah, at 175, I don't necessarily love it. But I was messing around with this last night. You can parlay these. So if you like another favorite in another division, but you don't love the juice, obviously parlays are not like the best way to win some money. But if you do want to turn it into plus money, you can parlay the Brewers, I think, with the Astros. I think the Astros are probably going to win their division. It's plus money. I believe it's plus 140 if you parlay both of these, the Brewers and the Astros. So I do like both of those divisions. But the bottom of this division is looking to be very bad. Like, good God, the Pirates. Oh, my gosh. The floor is so low for the Pirates and also the Reds. Like I said, it looked like a team that maybe could win some games, but they traded away their best players. Eugenio Suarez is gone. Jesse Winker is gone. So I don't have a ton of faith in Cincinnati either.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, can you make the case for anyone outside of the Cardinals or the Brewers here? I don't really think you can. Can you?
I don't think so. I think some people will probably bet on the Cubs just because they are a big market team, a lot of Cubs fans, but I don't know. I think their lineup is still a ways away. And some of the guys that they added, Marcus Stroman, he might be good there. I'm not sure, but I think they're too many pieces away. And just the fact that the Brewers pitching staff is just so good top to bottom. And even if one of those guys get hurt, because that's the other factor, you
Yeah.
need a team with some kind of depth because it is a long season. We are not talking about a 60-game season. We are talking about a long season where some of these guys are going to be hurt for stretches of time, and you need the depth to fill some of those spots in the rotation. And I think the Brewers are the team to do it.
I love your thinking there. I don't think they're going to have the bats down the stretch, but I totally agree with the staff. And I love that when we look down this list that our producer Bill Enneber made for us to go over this segment, when you look at notable moves and you see what the Brewers did, adding McCutchen and Renfroe and the Cardinals with Matz and Dickerson, you go down the list and then you get to Pirates and it's none. They didn't do anything because they're just sitting there being awful and not trying to get better.
That's the worst thing about baseball. And Jock Peterson was talking about this on Twitter, how it's embarrassing how some of these teams don't even care to try and compete because their owners are making money regardless. We saw it with the Oakland A's. They spent $0 in free
Oh,
agency. My goodness, that ought to be illegal.
so bad. There's a reason why the Pirates are 250 to 1 to win it all because they're not, and they didn't even try to improve during the offseason.